Hello out there in digital land. How are you? My name is Vincent Kelly. Thank you so much for being here with me tonight. And I want to say hello to everybody who's joining us on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram. Really good to have you for this webinar about regaining your motivation that you've lost, perhaps. And especially I'd like to say hello to anybody who's joined us on Zoom. I've got the Zoom platform open in front of me. So if any of you from any of those platforms have any examples or questions, you can pop them in to the chat, to the comment section on your own platform, and it will come around straight to me on Zoom. It's all set up, okay? So for everybody on Zoom, hello, good evening. I can see Kathy and Chloe there, two Chloes. Chloe and the second Chloe. Listen, thanks very much for coming along tonight. Now, because I've got the people on Zoom right in front of me, and I think there's a couple more people coming in there as well in the waiting room. So because I can see the people on Zoom, I'll probably communicate more directly to the Zoom people, because you can interact with me as you wish throughout this webinar. You can just directly ask me questions. I'll get them immediately. If you have any examples, because throughout the webinar I'll be asking you for a couple of examples, and I would be really grateful if there's any examples that you have on what I've gone over. Pop them into the chat. You don't have to participate, but it would be really great if you did. All right, it'd be fantastic, because it helps me to make the webinar a little bit more alive and interactive, and also more useful for you. So before we begin, a few introductions. I'm going to give you my introduction. I'm Vincent Kelly. I'm from Southeast Midlands, Kildare. I grew up in the countryside and went to travel in Germany in the 90s while I was in college studying personnel management as part of a business studies degree course, and came across the subject which I'll tell you about tonight, and here I am. So what I'd like to know from you, and this could be your first practical exercise of the webinar. Don't worry, you don't have to turn on your cameras, but hang on, someone did. Eileen, thank you very much for turning on your camera. Really appreciate it. It's good to see you. And if anybody else wants to turn on your cameras, please feel free to do so. I have everybody muted though, because sometimes when people are unmuted, you get all sorts of sounds coming in. So if you have any comments that you want to make, you can pop them in to the chat. So the first exercise for this evening, we're going to launch straight into the work for you. I just get you busy. Can you please do me a favor and just put down in the chat where you're logging in from? Like, where are you from? Are you from Dublin or Kerry or Belfast or London, Glasgow, Paris? Where are you from? Would you mind popping into the chat where you're from? As I really like to know how far we're reaching out. You know, are you in Russia? Cambodia? I don't mind. Sometimes we've got people here from Pakistan, and so I also want to make sure that I kind of don't use too many local expressions that others won't get. Okay, Chloe from Belfast. Hi Chloe. Eileen from Monaghan. Wonderful, Eileen. The hills of Monaghan. The hills of Monaghan. I have relatives up there who've told me that there's so much land in Monaghan. Exactly, you've heard it. They have to pile it up in hills. Chloe, I've been up in Belfast so many times. Love it up there. Kathy from Cavan, beautiful lakes of Virginia. Love that area, Kathy. Nice to have you. And Claudia from Dublin, right where I am. So it's great to have you guys here. Thank you so much for being here. And anybody on the other platforms, you can also put your comments in here. Okay, thanks, folks. Now, my webinar tonight is called Regain Your Motivation. My webinar is based off this book called Dianetics, which means Through the Mind. And it was written by this gentleman, L. Ron Hubbard. This guy also developed another subject called Scientology, which means a study of knowledge. But that's a different subject. This is what we're going to be focusing on tonight, primarily. Now, what the promise is here for you tonight is to give you a couple of practical tools, 3 practical tools, which you can put into practice straight away to help you with your motivation. And the last thing, which I'm probably going to spend more time on, is the root of persistent lack of motivation. And this is something you absolutely have to know, because You can apply the first 3 steps I give you, 1, 2, 3, and that's fine. But what happens with people is they run into a consistency problem, which means that they don't do it consistently. They don't keep it up. And so the second part of my webinar is going to tell you exactly what is it within you that is stopping you from motivating yourself. And it's really, really important to know this and to clear it up. So a couple of basics first, and then we get into the real nitty-gritty. And throughout this webinar, if you have any questions at all, please do not hesitate to pop it into the chat. At the end of the webinar, when I'm done, I'll leave it open for anybody who wants to hang around and ask me any other questions that they have. I'll leave it open for you. Okay, so hang around until the end as well, because at the end of it I have a little set of workshops I want to tell you about. There's a special offer on those workshops tonight, so I want to just tell you what that is. And yeah, if you don't mind, while you're on the webinar, turn off your TV. It's not that I'm greedy for attention, but I just want to make sure that you get this data 100%. Okay, if the dog is jumping on you right now, just, I don't know, put him in the corner or something, or give him a biscuit, or I don't know, do something. Okay. Now, who am I to be talking about this stuff anyway, right? I'm a simple guy. I'm from Kildare. I did everything that the country boys do. We usually grew up in our town. I grew up in the countryside in farming land. Ended up in Dublin in college, and then in college, I went traveling. I ended up in Germany, and in Germany, I came across this book, Dianetics. And I'd been looking for something to help other people, and tried other subjects which were workable to some degree, but not lasting. Okay, this subject I have stuck with for over 25 years because it works, and for no other reason. I have been all around the country, been up in Belfast and Cork and all sorts of different places, promoting this book and promoting the subject. And I'm also trained in Dianetics myself, which I'm going to show you about towards the end of the webinar. All right. Now, in terms of regaining motivation, this is not just all about you as well. I have my own things with motivation as well. I've had that stuff with motivation, and we all hit barriers on motivation from time to time. Okay. Now, for me personally, the lack of motivation hit me when I was in college. I was in college doing personnel management, but I didn't quite know what I wanted to do, you know. I didn't quite know what I wanted to do. I was kind of going to college because I was expected to, but I just wasn't motivated to study. And actually this started in the latter part of school when I was coming up to my final exams, my leaving certificate. I just kind of lost direction. What am I actually doing? Where am I going? And I was very much lacking in drive. And so because of that, I wasted a lot of time. I wasted a lot of time doing things that, let's just say, were a waste of time. I won't get into it any more than that. And it definitely affected me. I missed opportunities. There's things I could have learned to do. I could have got more involved in sports, but I missed out on all that because I just couldn't have been bothered. And I'm going to go into the main reasons that affected me and which you might relate to as well. So before I get into what I did to handle it, I want to ask you, and this is your second exercise for the evening if you don't mind, all right? I'd like to have you write down on the chat, what is your reason for being here? What is the problem you have with motivation? Would you mind typing it into the chat? Because I want to get a picture to make sure that we're covering everything that's relevant tonight. Like, did you used to have motivation and you've lost it? Did something happen? Do you lack motivation just in certain areas of your life? Is it to do with yourself physically? Is it to do with your business? Or just in general? So if you don't mind popping into the chat, what is it about motivation that you want to improve? And because I'd like to address that for you on this webinar. Okay. For some people, they don't want to exercise, or they can't exercise. Some people can't get themselves to study. Some people just can't get themselves to go for that promotion, or to open a business, or to just do anything. Just sit at home and watch telly all day because they're too tired. Okay? So just pop into the chat. What would be the main thing that you would like to handle? Would you like to, what would you like to improve upon? Okay, and by the way, I just welcome a few other people that came in there. I missed you. Hello, Ursula, Jose, Helena, Claudia, Shamela, sorry, and I said hello to everybody else. So thanks very much for joining us. And by the way, anybody who's joined us, it'd be nice to pop in your country, or sorry, county or country where you're from. It would be great. I'd like to know. So then, please just pop into the chat your reason for being here. Okay, so we've got one there. I'm just going to make a note of it. Loneliness, just to do with communication. And letdowns and confidence. Yeah, we'll cover that. Okay, anybody else want to pop in a reason for you being on the webinar? In other words, what it is that you would like to improve upon? Because I want to give you stuff tonight that's going to help you. All right, Claudia, you lack of consistency. Okay, thank you. Okay, very good. Anybody else want to pop in what you don't have to, but what you'd like to improve, what you'd like to handle? Maybe you want to help somebody else. It could be that as well. Okay. Kathy, can I put my career and exercise? But you have a problem to get a divorce. Just too much pain. Pain. Okay, got it. Okay. So then relationship related. Thank you very much, Kathy. Eileen, communication. Yeah. Motivating yourself to communicate. Okay, lovely. Okay. Ursula, thank you so much, folks. I really appreciate it. Lack of opportunities to get out and meet people. Okay, so that's kind of like lack of opportunities to get out and meet people. Ursula, maybe could you answer this question? Do you think that relates to possibly confidence and communication? Yes or no? Would you do that? Pop it into the chat. Does it relate to confidence and communication for you? Or just not the right circumstances coming up? Because sometimes when people say it to me, like, I don't have the opportunities to go out and meet people, there often is something to do with the person themselves, that they're finding reasons not to go out because of either lack of confidence or lack of communication skill, these kind of things. No opportunities. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. So it's not that. No opportunities. Thank you very much, Ursula. Okay. And that's great. All right. See, we've got one other guy there waiting to get in as well. Okay. Good. So let's get started. So when we talk about motivation, I first of all just want to write down the word on the board. And we have motivate. Okay. Motivate. This word, anybody who's been at my webinars before, you'll know that I studied Latin in school for a couple of years, and I actually really liked it. It was interesting, but I missed out on art, so you're going to see that tonight as well. Okay, so there's an actual derivation here. I want to just show you what it is. Okay, so this comes from motive and ate. Okay. The word motive, if you ever watched a kind of murder mysteries, they're looking for the person with the motive for the murder. And that's basically the reason. Okay? Reason. And it comes from Latin, movere, to move. Okay? In other words, what's the reason for the guy moving and doing something? Okay? And ate just means, it's from Latin, it means to basically create. Okay, so the actual word motivate means to create a reason. To motivate somebody to do something, you have to create a reason for them to do it. And this is the very first definition in Google. If you look up definition of motivate, it's to provide a reason for doing something. What's the exact wording? Yeah, to provide somebody with a reason for something. For example, anybody got kids? Anybody on the webinar have kids? Give me a thumbs up or just a message if you have kids. Okay, thank you. David. Anybody else have kids? Claudia. Okay. Helena, thank you. Okay, Ursula, got it. All right, very good. And I missed a comment here. Helena, avoiding dealing with real issues. My ex My real issue is my ex, as in the past. Okay, got it. So I got your comment as well, Helena. Letdowns. Okay, we'll cover that. Okay. So like with kids, okay, I've got kids myself as well, so I have a kind of an understanding of this. Kids are like, they can be very strong individuals. And to get them to do something, they have to have a reason for doing it, okay? So if you're like saying, let's go, you want to bring them out and get some exercise and some fresh air because they've been in on their video games too much. So you have to give them a reason for why you would go out. Hey, let's go to the park to go on the swings. And like immediately the kid has a reason. Oh, I'd like to go to the park and go on the swings. I'd like to do that. And so that's the only way you're going to get him to do it, unless you force him to come to the park with you. So when you're talking about motivation, you're not really talking about whipping somebody. That's not really motivating them. That's what they used to do in slavery, just whip a guy, get him to work. Whereas to really motivate somebody, they have to have a reason, and it has to be their reason. So for example, a child, when you're trying to get them to do something, you have to give them some sort of something, why they should go to bed early, because we need you to be rested in the morning so you can be up fresh and early for school. Why should I do my homework? Well, we want you to get a good job, and don't you want to be a painter? So you have to provide them with a reason for doing something, and this is the motivate thing. So that's the very first definition. So I want to tell you the very first thing that you need to keep in mind when you want to motivate yourself. Now, these first three things that I'm going to tell you, they'll seem like common sense. And if you're having any problems with these, or if you find them unrealistic, it's because of the last thing I'm going to be telling you about in this webinar. So the very first thing to motivate yourself, and this is covered in book 1, page 50 of this book that I'm going to be telling you about later on. It's a definition of happiness. And in order for you to be happy and motivated, there has to be a goal, okay? There has to be a goal. Like when I was in college, I was very unmotivated. I didn't bother turning up for some of the classes. I was out with my friends at the pub for a lot of the time, because I just didn't see the point. There was no real reason for me. I kind of lost interest quite a lot. So the first thing you have to have is a goal. All right? Now, the goal has to be something that you can practically achieve. In other words, the barriers, you're always going to hit barriers, okay, to your goal. And those barriers have to be something that you can realistically get over. So for example, you could put yourself a goal of, okay, in 2 weeks, I'm going to get myself into a relationship, and it's going to be the most amazing relationship ever. I've been on my own now for years. In 2 weeks, I'm going to get myself into the most amazing, loving partnership, and it's going to be amazing. And even though for a long, long time, I haven't even walked outside the front door, but I'm telling you right now, that's my goal. Look, there's nothing wrong with thinking positive, but what you're going to hit straight away is a barrier. The barrier is, who do you pick? Where do you meet such a person? How do you communicate to them? How do you know who you're going to like and who not? So there are things that you're going to have to find out about. The first person that you meet on the street is not necessarily going to be the one. So the first barrier might be too big. And if it is too big, if that barrier is too big, and you hit that first barrier, you're just going to give up. Because it's just too much. It's too much to get over. Whereas if you did it like this, if you put a goal there and you said, you know what, my goal is by the end of the next 2 weeks, okay, I'm going to have a bit more knowledge about the guys or girls in my life. I'm going to find out more about them, okay? I'm going to find out more about what they're like. So that might be a more realistic goal, and then the barrier won't be so great. You can, ask their friends, you can even meet them for a coffee, you can do whatever it is that you want, because the barrier is not going to be as big, okay? It's a bit like also, let's say you have a new mechanic, he's learning how to fix cars. So he puts himself as a goal that next week he's going to fix up that old BMW that's sitting out in his garden. All right? And that's great. But the thing is, he doesn't know anything about cars yet. He's only starting to learn. So if he puts too much of an unrealistic goal, he's just going to hit the deck and he's not going to be able to motivate himself. So the goal has to be, it really has to be to some degree realistic. Now, people say to me all the time, no, Vincent, you should think positive. Shoot for the stars. That is fine. And that's perfect, okay? There's nothing wrong with shooting for the stars. And I agree with that approach. But on the way towards the stars, there probably are steps that you need to get there. And so you should put those there as the goals first. So what I'd like you to do now as your next exercise is pop into the chat one goal that you would like to achieve within the next 6 months. So just take a moment to put down in the chat one goal that you would like to achieve within the next 6 months. Now, honestly, I don't care if that's a big goal or a small goal. Maybe in the next 6 months, you want to open up your own business. Maybe you want to, I don't know, meet a new guy, meet a new girl. Maybe you want to help your kids to have an improved grade at school. Maybe you just want to wash the car. All right, and that's your goal for the next 6 months because you haven't washed it in 6 months. Your goal for the next 6 months is just wash the car or clean the kitchen. I don't care what the goal is, but just put down something that you would like to do. You personally, it can't be something somebody else tells you that you have to achieve. It has to be something you want to achieve yourself. And it could be within your business as well. Even though your boss is running the show, perhaps, you could decide, you know what, I want to have better statistics in the next 6 months. So pop into the chat one goal that you would like to achieve in the next 6 months. Okay? Pop it in there. Okay, very good. Let's see. And by the way, thanks David, John, and Pauline for sticking on your cameras. Great to see you. And anybody else you can put on your cameras as well. I like to see people that are live. It's fantastic. Thank you. Okay. So, Kathy, I think grown up. Oh yeah, grown up sons. Okay, or kids. Kathy, is a relationship goal. Get out of current relationship. Thank you. 6 months. Okay, good. So then what you need to do is just break it down so that those barriers are overcome or work out what's been going on. See, the problem that people run into in getting out of a relationship is that if they don't work out what's been the problem within it, they often attract in the same problem in the next relationship. So that might be the first thing to hit, to look at, okay, what's been going on and really analyze it in detail. And we can help you with that too. And this webinar hopefully will help you. Benita, hi Benita, I never said hello to you on the webinar. Good to see you. Lose weight. Okay, very good. Sorry, find a new career. Excellent. Good. So that's your goal. And then you're going to need to put your little steps, barriers that you will hit that you can deal with. So that's very good. Chloe, meeting more new friends I can rely on and don't let you down. Great. And the first step with those we just start to communicate more and, you know, try to create more conversations. Very good. Benita, lose weight. Good. And you've got a 6 month target there. And don't put the 6 month target as, you know, I'm 20 stone now. I'm going to be 8 stone in 6 months. You know, put it as a realistic target. That's something that you can achieve without starving yourself and without kind of going, whatever. Okay. And John, that's a bit rude. Okay. Pauline, to find inner happiness within yourself. Okay. Excellent. Okay, Pauline, that's great. And you can work on that. And you know what? The result of putting your goal here and getting and achieving these things is to achieve happiness. So you will achieve happiness once that's in there, okay? And, okay, John, I got that one. Thank you. Get buff. Got it. So, I mean, people do have fitness goals and they want to improve their physical appearance. Nothing wrong with that. Want to improve your physical ability. Okay, so that's really good. Claudia, start a career that you've completed. Fantastic. Start a career that you've completed the training for. there's a 6-month goal. So write those goals down, everybody, and just keep them there. And you know what? It's a realistic goal that you feel you can achieve within 6 months, and then you'll find that, you know what, you'll be able to work out, but at least you'll have that there, and that's the very, very first step. Okay? So thanks very much, everybody, for doing that. And David is social confidence. Thank you so much. Yeah, good. And so that means in 6 months' time, you'd have social confidence. In other words, ability to go out there and talk to people. So you're going to have, there are steps to get there. You're going to hit barriers. One that might be communication skill, learning how to improve relationships, these kind of things. So there's basically steps that you would do. Maybe you need to practice a bit with a friend or a family member. That would be good. And Ursula, find like-minded people. Okay. And Ursula, find like-minded people. Very good. Excellent. There's nothing wrong with that. And again, it's about meeting new people and creating new relationships with people. So that's really good. Okay. So there you go. And a lot of you have talked about achieving better relationships, and it's a really good goal to have because it's nice to have people around you. Now, the next thing I want to go over is, I'm not going to spend too much time on these next ones, okay? And this is based on the second definition of motivate, which you'll find in Google, which is basically to, what is it here? To cause somebody to have interest or enthusiasm in something, okay? So to cause interest or enthusiasm. Okay, I'm sure you'll agree that if you're interested and enthusiastic about something, you're going to be more motivated. It's quite obvious, and it's quite good to know that, because if you're not interested and you're not enthusiastic, there just isn't going to be that much motivation, even if it's just a mild level of interest. Okay? So that's cause interest and enthusiasm. Now, the number one thing, and this is a little reference, it's related to page 50 of the Dynamics book, but there's also a book that this gentleman wrote called The Way to Happiness. And there's a little line in here that I want to write down for you, and it's production is the basis of morale. Okay? Now, morale basically means confidence and enthusiasm. Okay? So if morale is confidence and enthusiasm, you could even put in motivation in here instead. Okay? Production is the basis of morale. Now, what does that mean? Production means getting busy, doing things that are useful in life for yourself and for others. Production, like going to work and fixing people's computers. That's production. Going out in the garden and mowing the grass. Production. Washing the doth. Production. Bringing your kids to school. It's production, because you're actually creating something and so forth. Teaching your kids how to, elderly kids how to drive. It's production. So production means, basically, it means effective action. And we'll also put in worthwhile, okay? Like, you could spend your day painting the same wall yellow all day, okay? But is it going to make a difference in your life? Is it going to make and we're not talking about art here and artistic stuff, just doing this for the sake of doing it. You should be doing something that has an effect and actually improves your life. So production is the basis of morale. Now, why am I telling you this? You say, Vincent, but sure, I can't even motivate myself to do anything. But the interesting thing is that if you see something that you know needs to get done, and you couldn't be bothered doing it, and you're not motivated in the least bit to do it, you're just like, oh, I can't drag myself to do this. If you force yourself to do it, and do it, the result is going to be higher morale and better motivation. I'll give you an example of this. And this only happened this week, so it's very recent, okay? Very busy week. And home, my wife says, I don't know, we finished watching a movie or something like that. And she says, you know what, Vincent, what we should do right now is we should clean this room in the house. And I said, definitely not. I'm too tired, and I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it next week. I'll do it some other century, but definitely not right now because I'm just wrecked. I just no interest and so forth. But she says, look, come on, let's just do it. Let's just do it. She wasn't like, yeah, come on. She was like, come on, let's just do it. And I went, okay, we'll do it. So we did it. We spent about half an hour cleaning this room together. And you know what? At the end of it, I felt brighter, and we actually decided to actually do more things. So this one is a little bit of the reverse. What I've been telling you is to put a goal there to get yourself motivated. But now what I'm telling you is that get yourself busy and get yourself busy doing constructive things, and you're going to have higher motivation to do more things. There's a really nice expression that Nike came out with years ago. Who wants to put down in the chat before I mention it? The Nike slogan. Anybody want to volunteer in the chat? What is the Nike slogan? Exactly, Claudia. Just do it. Thank you, Ursula. Just do it. Now, look, it doesn't solve every problem that a person has in life, but it's a good example of what you need to do sometimes. So if your house is in a mess and you can't motivate yourself to do it, well, the first thing to do is find one thing that you can do and just do that. So if the whole house is in a terrible state, okay, well, you know what? I can at least sweep the floor in the kitchen. And you sweep the floor and you've done that and you're like, yeah. Now do you know what? I think I'll clean the counter. So as you start doing more things on a gradual basis, you'll find that motivation increasing. Okay? So just keep that in mind. I don't want to spend too much time on it because I want to hit on to the main thing. So as Claudia and Ursula have recommended to us, is just do it. All right? And you'll find that the more you just do it, you'll find that you'll be able to motivate yourself to do more things and bigger things. Okay? But sometimes we're so tired. And by the way, make sure you get enough sleep as well, because that's important for motivation. Okay? A good 7.5 to 8 hours sleep. Make sure you're getting that every night. Now, the last thing I want to go over with you before I hit the main thing is, this is the second part here, is suppression. Okay? Now, everybody, we all want to improve, okay? We all want to achieve our goals, and every single person on this webinar, you wouldn't be here if you didn't want to improve some aspect of your life or find out something and give me an hour of your time. So you want to improve things. You want to make things better for yourself. You want to get fit. You want to meet more people. You want to be in a better relationship. You want to be more successful in your job or your business. You want these things, and it's good. It's the right thing. There's nothing wrong with your desire for improvement. But on your way, and when you start expanding, and when you start communicating to more people, and I have found this in so many times, even myself, when you want to communicate to a lot more people, what happens is you run into what we call Inventive Suppression. Okay? Somebody, somewhere, is going to try and suppress you and put you down directly or indirectly. And so the key ingredient when you're affected by this, and the key thing that happens to you, is if you don't handle the situation correctly, you're going to lose sight of your goal, and your motivation is going to go down from 100 down to 0. You're going to go, you know what, I couldn't be bothered. It's too difficult. It's too stressful. There's too many angry people out there. Oh, everybody's the same. They're all against me. So when you hit people pushing you down, that's what suppress means. It means to push people down. you're going to, if you don't handle it correctly, lose your motivation. Now, there's a whole course we do about this called the Ups and Downs in Life course, which teaches you about this in more detail. But one thing I just want to tell you about this is that the main effect that it has on you is when you start thinking, I can't do anything about this. Okay? Now maybe this person wants you to think that you can't do anything. So this is a harmful intention or a harmful action against which you can't fight back. Where you feel like you can't fight back against this person or some suppression. Okay? Now, when you do anything about it, so the message here is just do something. Do something. Don't do nothing. So when you are being put down or suppressed, don't do nothing. Do something constructive. For example, if you're on a football team and the coach hates you, never gives you a game, says you're terrible, whatever, and it's really ruining your motivation because you can't play football and you're never getting a match, well, you can do something. You know? You could even, I don't know, you could go up to the coach and say, "Hi, coach, do you want a cup of tea?" Or, I don't know, you could do something to handle it. Because if you do nothing, your motivation is going to be low. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to be aggressive. It doesn't mean that you have to be violent or any of that kind of stuff, because that usually has a negative effect. But, you know, you can sit down and say, "Listen, can we have a cup of tea, Mr. Coach? I want to find out why it is that you don't like me playing." Anything, you know? Talk to the other players. Find out what they did to get around the coach to get you onto the football team. The main message here is just do something. Don't do nothing. And often a bit of friendliness and a bit of communication goes a long, long way. Now, I'm just touching off this. There's a lot more to learn about that, but it's important to mention it. Just do something. Okay, so far we've gone over 3 things. Create a goal. That's the first step in motivation. It's really important. Number 2 is just do it. And you'll find that your production will raise your morale and you'll be more motivated to do things. And number 3 is keep an eye out for this. People who are critical of you or put you down directly or indirectly. Just keep an eye out for it. Be aware of it and do something. Even if it's just smiling or, you know, becoming successful. Whatever it is, do something about it, not nothing. Now, the last thing I want to mention can ruin you in all of those other categories. Okay? It can ruin you. It can cause you to not put a goal there, to give up on your goal easily, to not bother doing anything, and to really get stressed out when somebody criticizes you. All right? So here is what I'm going to go over with you right now. This is the most important thing to handle when you are dealing with motivation. And this is going to lead into the workshops that I'm going to explain in a few minutes. In order for you to decide what to do, okay, there has to be action. Let me rephrase this. For you to achieve your goal and to actually get into doing things, there has to be some kind of action. Right? There has to be something that you're going to do. But before that action, there has to be interest. At least there has to be some kind of interest or some kind of enthusiasm. Okay? And this we categorize into the branch of emotion. Okay, so for example, if you are extremely worried all the time, your motivation is not going to be very high. If you are totally depressed and sad, your motivation and your action is not going to be high. If you're angry regularly, you're always angry and you're always critical, your action is most likely going to be more destructive than it should be. So, if your emotion is at interest, which is actually your natural state, this is the place where you belong, interest and enthusiasm. But before interest and enthusiasm and before emotion comes number one, which is thought. Okay. If your thoughts are clear and naturally positive, okay, clear and positive, if your thoughts are naturally clear and positive, your thinking is clear and positive, your emotion is generally going to be interest and enthusiasm. Now, how do you make sure that your thinking is clear and positive? Because that's where you naturally are too. You ensure, to make sure that your thoughts are clear, you ensure that this thing that you have called the mind is in good shape. Your mind is not your brain. Your brain is a lump of meat in your head which controls a lot of parts of the body and your nervous system, but surely it's not the source of all your memories in your past. Where is your mind located? Some people say it's inside the body, some people say it's outside the body. Doesn't matter. All we're worried about and concerned about is the fact that you store memories. You store pictures and information of everything that you have learned. For example, try and remember your last birthday. Let me know with a thumbs up or a yes in the chat if you can remember it. What? See if you can remember your last birthday and pop it into the chat. Anybody? Okay. Okay, well, if you can't remember your last birthday, can you remember being at somebody else's birthday? Pop it into the chat or give me a thumbs up or a sign that you have been able to remember that. Okay, I didn't see any comments yet, but they're probably going to come in. I hope so anyway. When you remember something, you are looking at a picture, okay? And you store all this information to help you to improve your thinking and your decisions, which affects your emotion, which affects your motivation. Now, the problem is that there is a part of your mind which is not under your control, and it can come in and start messing with that thinking. Cause that thought to be negative, bring your emotion down, and bring your action level and your motivation down as well. Thank you, Eileen. Good. So you're able to remember your daughter's birthday and you got a picture of it. That's the mind that you're looking at. That's what the mind is. It's a collection of pictures. Very good. So, if you're thinking clearly all the time, let me ask you, who here on the chat or on the webinar believes that they think clearly all the time or most of the time? Anybody? Or if not, you can do most of the time. Okay, Kathy? Anybody else feel like you can think clearly most or all of the time? Okay, Benita. Good. Excellent. Now, most of the time, Claudia. Okay, Helena, bit of fog. Got it. Alina, all the time. Okay, thank you, folks. Right. Now, look, in everyday life, we are using you're using your normal ability to think, and you have a huge ability to think clearly. You have a naturally huge ability to think clearly. Every single person on this webinar, a massive ability to think clearly. And sometimes you surprise yourself. Your decisions are so good. But any of those times where you feel, I'm getting stressed out, or you lose your temper, or you just, you're down in the dumps for some reason, or you're getting worried for no reason at all, or you are afraid of doing something, or you're getting panicky about things. What's happening in that case is there is a part of your own mind taking over, which is not under your control. And in this subject, which is also explained in the book I'm going to tell you about later, Dianetics, is called the reactive mind. And this part of your mind, I'm not going to get into too much detail now because I cover it in my workshops. This part of your mind basically stores up painful memories. Okay? So, any accidents that you had, or operations, or if you lost somebody close to you, or if you had a really bad experience in a relationship, or you got mugged, or somebody stole your car, you lost your child for the day in the park, these painful memories are stored in a separate compartment. And it's called the reactive mind because it just reacts. It doesn't think. It's not very logical, like the way you normally think. It's just reactive. And when I say reactive, I mean push button. For example, if you got bitten by a dog 5 years ago, all it would take is a similar dog to pass by you on the street and you get this nervous reaction. That's what we call push button. Now, what this reactive mind does, all right, I'm just going to clear off a few of these things here, okay, just to create a little bit more space. What this reactive mind does, it kind of is sort of trying to protect you from the same pain happening again. So what it does is, let's say you're going for a goal here. You've got your goal. You want to get into a steady relationship. You want to find a friend, a partner, maybe, or just a good friend. You want to, or good friends, a group of good friends. You want to have that. But you have a memory here in this reactive mind of where somebody really let you down. Okay? Goodbye. You have a bad memory where somebody really let you down that you were close to. Okay? So let's say you were going out with a guy for 5 years. You trusted him with your heart and soul. You loved him till the cows come home, to the stars in the sky. And then he betrayed you by telling you one day, I've met somebody else and take care. Okay? Complete betrayal, complete letdown, and a very, very stressful experience. Now that pain is recorded in this thing called the reactive mind. So when you try to get into a new relationship, okay, you want to get into, you say, you know what, I think I'd like to go out and meet new people. I don't necessarily want to get into a relationship, but I might want to just meet new people. If there's any similarity between the new person or a group of people and what happened to you, according to the reactive mind, because it doesn't think very logically, it just thinks that is the same as this. It's not a very logical part of the mind. So if there's any similarity between this new guy and the old guy, what the reactive mind is going to do, it's going to try and steer you away. It's going to try and protect you from the obvious pain that you're going to hit. Now, it's illogical because this is a completely new individual, totally different to this person. Maybe just wears the same type of clothes, or has a mustache as well, or maybe has the same tone of voice. But the reactive mind doesn't care about that. It just sees similarity and triggers it off. And so it tells the person stay away, and then the person comes up with all these reasons why they don't think this is the right person. They don't trust the person. There's something about their vibe they don't get. Oh, I don't like the vibe. I don't like the feel I get off the person, And they get all these reasons for not going out to talk to people that are not based on logic, but purely based on the past and the pain from the past, which is still affecting the person. This could also apply if you had a physical injury. If you were in a car crash, for example, 10 years ago, and now you go to try and say you were a passenger in that car, and now you want to learn how to drive. Every time you approach the car, you get nervous. Why? The reactive mind is steering you away. And what that does is it ruins your motivation. So the number one source of lack of motivation, believe it or not, comes from the pain and the painful experiences from your past which have not been dealt with. Because they get triggered without your consent, they get triggered without your knowledge. And it steers you away from things that are actually beneficial for you in your life. If that stuff is not cleared up completely, what happens is it grows. In other words, every time it gets triggered and you get stressed out, or you get depressed, or you lose your temper, or you worry, a new incident is added to this reactive mind, and it just simply gets bigger. So it increases in size, and it becomes more reactive. Now, even if you feel great on a daily basis, you're doing good, you're doing your best, and you're actually very successful, it could be the case that this stuff isn't affecting you greatly right now. But if it isn't handled and cleared up, what happens is all it takes is for you to run in to a collection of those similar incidents again in some way to bring it back and start affecting your thinking. This is why people are really pushing it as fast and as far as they can go in life. And then one day, something happens, they lose somebody close to them, and the whole thing just shatters. Why? Because there was already a build-up, and it just took one extra thing for the whole thing to kick in. But that stuff was already sitting there. So what I want you to think about is this. If you have had many bad experiences that you feel could be affecting your motivation today, and honestly, they do. It's the number one source of lack of motivation. How do we know that? We know that because if you clear up this stuff, the person gets their vitality back and gets their interest in life back. And there's only one way you're going to know if that's true or not, and that's to try this out, this subject, which I'm going to tell you about in a few minutes. Okay. So what I want you to do is this. For a moment, just think about if you lack motivation in a certain area of your life, whether it's to do with consistency, communication, I'm picking these things that you mentioned at the beginning, your relationship, getting over letdowns, confidence. If your motivation is affecting you there and you don't get to the root of it, what's it going to be like 5 years down the line? I leave you for that to ponder yourself. You can make your own decision on that one. Okay. Now, I mentioned those three things at the beginning. Setting a goal, just doing it, and keeping an eye out for critical people. Those 3 steps are workable. However, if you're not in the mood for doing them, you ain't going to do it. And why would you not be in the mood? You'll be in the mood, not be in the mood, because something is affecting your thinking. And the thing that's affecting your thinking is this package, which we call in Dianetics the reactive mind. And it's a whole collection of your past bad experiences, which have to be cleared up. Wouldn't it be nice to have this cleared up? Wouldn't it be nice to be not stuck in the past and be able to just set new goals, you know? You had a goal, you achieved it, and now you can set a new one, because people do get bored. You know, when you achieve a goal, you can get bored and lack motivation that way to a certain degree, but you just need to create a new goal. So how do you handle all this? Vincent is fine in theory, but how do you handle it? Well, I'm going to briefly touch on that. I'll go into it more on my workshops. I'll tell you about now. But what we do in Dianetics is called auditing. Okay? The word auditing means to listen and to guide. The person who's delivering the auditing, Dianetics book in hand, is called the auditor. This is the person who listens and guides. His best asset is his ability to listen. The person receiving the auditing, they've got their eyes closed, wide awake, but eyes closed so that you just concentrate. And the auditor is helping this person to discover and uncover these bad experiences, which are absolutely ruining their motivation in life. And using the exact 10-step procedure of Dianetics, they're clearing up each incident one by one. And the result of that is the person regains their ability to think, regains their ability to decide what they want to do in the future, or in the close, not so distant future. And the name that we give to this person is called the pre-clear. Pre means before, and clear is the end result of Dianetics. Okay? And a clear is not a new person or somebody different. It is just you with your ability to think back and your ability to decide things and the fog lifting and being able to be consistent and to be just being yourself without all the baggage and the stress constantly triggered from your past. So that is the approach in Dianetics. And the reason I recommend that as the number one thing to handle is because when you clear up this stuff first, the other things about setting a goal and getting productive and handling suppression tend to come naturally after that point. Okay, so folks, what I want to do now, I want to show you what I have put together for you, because the very first step I recommend to people is education. And I've put together a set of workshops called The Mind Explained. It's 3 workshops. It's on Fridays between 8 and 9. The next set is starting on Friday, the 5th of August, 8 to 9. These are circular workshops. In other words, we do one workshop one Friday, number 2, then number 3, and then we come back and start them again. So they do a kind of a rotation. So if you miss one, you can always catch it the next time around. So don't worry if you can't attend every single Friday, but there are 3 Fridays. So the first part is the mystery of the mind. In other words, your lack of motivation, what has that got to do with your mind? And what is the mind anyway? So we go into that in more detail. Part 2, the mother of all unwanted thoughts. Now in this particular module, we go into the real core incident that happened to you, which is the major cause of you having trouble motivating yourself in life. Part 3, the effect of emotional trauma and loss. Now people say to me all the time, Vincent, sure, you know, time heals these things. You know, that's just life. Time is a great healer. Let's all go out into the meadow and walk and hold hands while we sing amongst the daisies. And it's all very fine in theory, but in actual fact, losses that you've had in the past, even though you think you've gotten over them, are often still there, still affecting you without you even realizing it. And you'll learn more about that in this particular module and how it actually affects your motivation in life and your vitality. Now, these particular workshops cover just a couple of the major things that you need to know about. And I keep them very, very simple so that you don't kind of have too much information being poured on you. But while you're on the workshops, I do want you to start reading the book. So the book is included as part of the actual workshops. If you're not a book reader, there's a Dianetics DVD, which is a 2-set DVD, 4.5 hours long, 32 mini movies. And the reason I want you to have the book or the DVD is so that you can increase your knowledge from the workshop. So I'll be covering some of the key basics that you need to know, and we'll make it very, very practical for you as well. But then just to fill out the knowledge, you should either read the book or watch the DVDs, whether it's on your laptop or whatever, or your PlayStation or Xbox or whatever you have. So it's important, and this book is sent to you as soon as you enroll on the workshops. Now, in terms of cost, the cost of the workshops is basically €30, and that is the book or the DVD and the workshops, the 3 workshops. The book or DVD will be sent to you with free shipping, and the total cost is €30. Now, to motivate you to get going on it, there's a special offer which lasts until 9:30 tonight. It's basically €20. Now, I'm going to give you some maths, and maths bring you back to school for a minute, right? If you were to buy this book on its own, it costs €20. Okay? So now, let's work out how much the workshops cost. Exactly. They're free. And the reason I put an actual offer there, and the link has gone up there, thank you, Eric. The reason I put this kind of thing there, doing it until 9:30, is just give you a goal, just the thing is, people say to me, sure, look, I'll do it tomorrow or the next day or whatever, but that is just reactive mind telling you, let's just leave it until tomorrow, next day, it'll be all right tomorrow. It's just to give you some encouragement to get doing it. So I really, really, really want you to get going on these workshops. I will keep them very, very simple, very practical, and very applicable for you. And while you're on these workshops, you'll have my email address for any questions that you have, so you can get any help that you need. And I promise you this, the very least you're going to get from these workshops is more knowledge about yourself. And from that, then you can decide if you want to continue with it or if you've had enough. Most people want to continue because it's very, very, it makes sense. It's quite practical information. And look, if all these workshops did for you was increase your motivation so that you can achieve more of your goals in life faster, wouldn't it be worth it? Or if all it did was help you to clear up all the bad experiences, the losses that you've had in the past, the letdowns, the betrayals that you've experienced, and just to be able to move on from them so that you are at least refreshed and revitalized, I think that would also be worth it. So, I really want you to all sign up for it. The link is going to be there until 9:30 tonight. And you as a group will be starting on the 5th of August, Friday the 5th of August. And you will do the following 2 Fridays as well. And if you can't attend one of those for some reason, it doesn't matter. You will catch them on another loop. Okay? So folks, I'm going to be ending the webinar now, and then I'm going to be kind of restarting for any questions and answers. So I'm going to leave with these comments. The reason you lost your motivation is primarily because things that happened to you that are stuck in the past. If you clear up those things using the exact procedure of Dianetics, you're going to have a new ability to think and a much more stable emotional level, interest, and a natural emotional level, which actually gets you into action naturally without having to force yourself all the time. Life shouldn't be about forcing yourself with a stick. Okay? So that's the purpose of what this subject is about, Dianetics. I'm merely doing this to help you out, to give you some direction and give you some tools that can assist you. I really do hope you all join me for the Friday night modules. And I guarantee you, you are definitely going to get a lot of information out of them. Okay, so I'm going to end now. So I want to thank everybody on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram for joining me. I really appreciate your time. Technically, I'm going to be, you're not going to see me disappear from the screen, but I'm going to be answering any questions in a minute. So, don't worry, you're not going to lose me. But I want to thank you all very much on all those platforms, and for everybody on Zoom who've stayed with me, Eileen, Chloe, Kathy, Helena, Claudia, Ursula, and Pauline. Thank you so much for being here tonight. If you've got what you wanted to get out of the webinar, feel free to log off. It's completely fine, and I won't be offended. And I thank you so much for being here. And for anybody else who has any questions, I'd like you to stay on, and I will answer every single one of your questions to the best of my ability. And I'll tell you one or two short stories. Okay, they won't be scary stories. They'll be hopefully interesting. Okay, so for everybody who would like to go, don't worry, enjoy the rest of your evening. It was absolutely beautiful to have you here. Thank you. All right, and for anybody who, okay, that's that. Now, new section, finish, start. Now we're now starting. This is question and answer time. So please take this opportunity to ask me any questions that you have about the subject, about motivation, about the workshops, about the book, about myself, anything that you want to ask. Please do feel free to pop it into the chat, and I'll be happy to answer your questions. As I mentioned at the beginning, as Christy Moore used to say, he's from Kildare, so I'm a bit biased. I'm an ordinary man, and just found out about this stuff that works. There might be other things that sound much fancier and all the rest of it, but all I'm interested in is workability. All right? Very good. So if you have any questions there, I'll just give you a moment to pop them into the chat, and literally anything at all. Anything. And I'll be happy to answer them for you. If anybody wants me to refresh on any of the bits and pieces that I've gone over tonight, you can ask me that as well. If there's something that you didn't quite understand, you can pop your question in there, and I'll be happy to cover it. And if not, it's fine. If not, it's totally fine. The link is going to stay open there until 9:30 anyway on the chat for anybody who wants to enroll on the actual workshops, and I hope you all do. Can I just ask you individually, I'm not going to put you on the spot here, but at the beginning of this webinar, each person has given me different things like consistency, relationships, communication, letdowns, confidence, and so forth. Is there anything specific, more specific, that you'd like to know about that I could give you to help you out with that situation? If there is, you can pop it into the chat, and I will help you with that. Okay. Eileen, I've purchased the book. Is there a further payment required for the workshops? Oh, good question. I will have Eric send you an answer to that question. I don't know the technical. Normally for the webinar, it's a kind of like a package. But don't worry, Eileen, we'll sort you out. We'll sort you out, because I would really, really love to have you on the workshops, and I'll have Eric reach out to you there. He might be sending you a personal message there as it is. We don't know yet. He might be. Okay, but anyway, I'll get Eric to reach out to you about that directly, and we can work something out. Okay. Oh, there you go. You got your answer straight away there, Eileen. So there you go. You're in. You're in indeed. Okay, Claudia, I find that I'm the one who would suppress myself with reaching my goals. Is there a way of changing that? Claudia, I love your question. I'm going to help you. I want to tell you something interesting. You're the one that suppresses yourself from reaching your goals. Well, it's a very responsible way of looking at it, because you're not far off the truth here. But I want to just highlight one thing. Okay? So there's you. Okay? And you've got this goal and you're so interested. You know what? I don't know, Claudia, give me an example. Give me an example of a goal that you'd like to achieve, right? And I'm just going to make up a scenario here. Just give me an example. Be like business, work, study, whatever. What is the goal that you would like to achieve? You can even make one up if you want. Any particular goal that you would like to achieve? While I'm waiting on this, okay, what I will tell you is this. When you start improving yourself, because achieving your goals is all about improving yourself and expanding your life. So life is not just about going on a flat plane, it's about going upwards. For yourself, more health, happiness, more success, even more money, more a better environment for your children, a better community, a better country, you know. So life is all about expanding and so forth. Now, on your way there, as I mentioned in the middle part of this webinar, you are going to run into people who are going to put you down directly or indirectly. Okay, now I know I'm going to get to this why you do it yourself in a minute, but this is something that passes people by sometimes. Sometimes, when you're trying to achieve your goals, an individual can see in that a threat. In other words, they don't particularly want to see you getting any bigger or better or more successful in life, would rather have you in a little box. And so in a very subtle way, will tell you, Claudia, you know, I know you want to learn the violin and you'd be great at it, honestly. But really and truly, you're not cut out for that. You're not cut out. You don't have the education. You have nothing wrong. If I were you, I'd stick to what I know best, which is, I don't know, laying cement blocks to build houses. You just stick with what you know. You know, I care about you so much. So my recommendation here as your best friend is to tell you, stay with block laying and you'll be grand. Okay, great. Now, the person apparently has the right intentions for you, but subtly these comments can get in under the surface. Now, there's a whole course we do called the Overcoming Ups and Downs in Life, which teaches you in more detail about this. But it's just something to watch out for, because what happens is when you get these comments and you don't quite spot them from somebody in your environment, or it could be something somebody does to stress you out deliberately, what happens is it often triggers off your own hidden baggage. And we have this, it comes back to the reactive mind. Okay? Really and truly, what should happen is when you are going for your goals and you want to achieve your goals, even if you run into this type of a person, you should be able to think so clearly that you should be thinking, you know what? It's fine. This person hates me. They don't agree with what I'm doing. But you know what? I'm gonna go for my goals anyway. I'm gonna do it. And here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna keep my enthusiasm. And that's what should happen. You should be able to retain that natural, positive thinking and keep that goal in mind. But why can't you? Why do you start eating away at yourself? Why do these negative thoughts come in? Where you start going, oh yeah, I wouldn't be able for that. I'm no good. I'm stupid. I'll leave it till tomorrow. Somebody else will be better at it than me. You know what? I'm too old. I'm too young. I'm too this. I'm too that. And you start ruining your own thoughts, which is completely illogical. It doesn't make sense. Now, I cannot tell you what is in your reactive mind. I don't know what's happened to you in the past. But what I can tell you for sure is that you have one. And for everybody, it's got different content. So whatever happened to you, Claudia, is something that you would need to uncover, because that is directly affecting your thoughts. The reason for these negative thoughts is not really you and your natural ability. It's this. It isn't you. So relax. It isn't you. It is this. And the reason you don't know when you ask me the question is because this stuff here contains a whole pile of question marks, because what's in here is hidden and in a mush. And so the whole point of Dianetics is to straighten out the mush so that you're able to think clearly again. And when you can think clearly again, you get that consistency and you get that ability to move forward. Oh, sorry, and I missed your comment here. I want to be a healthcare worker. I've completed the courses and passed. Wow, fantastic. I feel that I'm the one stopping myself from reaching my goal. Yeah, look, one of the things that happens to people when they finish training is they have to go out and do interviews and really confront life. Okay, and there's communication courses that you can do to help you with that. We run one here ourselves, communication course. It's very, very good. There's a course that we do specifically about practical things on confidence as well. Those are things. But this is the major thing. You could teach a person how to communicate, how to study, how to improve their marriage, and so forth, and how to be a successful businessman or businesswoman. But if they wake up in the morning in a bad mood and they couldn't be bothered, they're just not going to do those things. And the reason they're lacking in that motivation or that interest is because something is affecting your thinking that you don't know about. So the problem that you're having is something that you don't know about. Otherwise, you would have already dealt with it. You see, if you knew what the problem was, you would have already fixed it. But you don't. And the reason you don't is because within this reactive mind contains incidents that you've forgotten about, things that are buried. And it's important to clear that stuff up. So there's two answers to your questions. There are practical things that you can do to improve your ability to get things done, like communication courses and how to study and how to handle people and improve relationships. These are fine. But this is the primary thing to know about. If you don't know this, you can learn all those things until the cows come home, but eventually this thing is going to start affecting your thinking. Your problem is your thinking, which is being affected by this package of past baggage. And you might say to me, Vincent, you know how it's got nothing to do with the past. When you start doing the auditing, as explained in the book, and which we go over in the workshops, you soon learn that the things you thought are not affecting you certainly are affecting you. Okay, and often you'll find that the things that you thought are affecting you aren't really affecting you. It's the hidden things that you want to uncover. And so the whole point of Dianetics is to send you on a search of yourself to clear up all this stuff here. Sorry, it was a bit of a long-winded answer, but I hope it helped you. I hope it helped. But as I mentioned, there are practical courses that you can do to improve your communication skill, to improve learning how to spot who to trust and who not to trust. There are things that you can learn about that. And if you're interested in any of those, then Eric can basically help you out with that. But this is the main thing, and this is the reason why I have put this course together, these workshops, to basically introduce people to what is going on here, so that you have more of an understanding for yourself, and you can follow it from there. Okay, does that help, Claudia? Don't say no. I know the answer is a bit of a mysterious answer because I'm telling you, that's good. More of a what I'm kind of telling you an answer, which is a pile of question marks. It's a bit of a funny answer. The answer I'm giving you is the pile of question marks. And when you clear up those pile of question marks, you will have your own answer. Because it's not the same for every single individual. It's unique to you. See? Okie dokie. Great. If anybody, it's great, Claudia. Anybody else have any other questions that I can help with? And by the way, if anybody else has questions and you want to type them in, please do so now. I'll tell you one quick story before I wrap up. as I mentioned at the beginning, I came into this subject, Dianetics, in Munich in Germany in the early 90s. And I was mainly interested in using this for helping other people, but I used this, I got results, and finally I went, you know what, maybe it can help me too. I got a huge benefit from it, stable benefit, much more confidence, much more natural confidence, not fake. I don't have to get up in the morning going, okay, Vincent, how are you going to push away all those negative thoughts and really get going today? No, it's just, I feel naturally great all the time. Of course, there's times when things go wrong and it's a bit stressful, but in general, I feel great, and I really want that for each of you, for you to be in the career that you want to be in, be with the people that you want to be with, and have a game in life that you enjoy and achieve your goals. That's what I want, because I certainly got that from this particular subject. It helped me the most, and it's why I've dedicated over 25 years for this particular subject and the other works of the author as well. Right. Good. Okay, folks. So listen, final words. Get yourself enrolled on the workshops if you haven't already. I really want to see you on Friday. Hang on, the date, 5th of August, did I say? Friday the 5th of August, 8 p.m. to continue the journey. It's a bit of an investment of €20. It's a bit of a chance you're taking, but look, if it does what it says in the tin, it's going to be worth it. And I'm an honest guy, so I'm not going to kind of give you false ideas about what it might or mightn't do. It's a very practical book, and I'm a very practical person too. Okay, so folks, I'm going to say goodnight to you all. The chat is going to stay open there. So thank you for your time. Thank you for staying with me until the end. Have a beautiful rest of your evening, whatever you want to do. Watch a movie or go and have a cup of tea or whatever you do. Go out and lie on the lawn if it's still dry and warm outside. Probably not. So thank you, Eileen, Claudia, and Pauline for staying with me till the end. Really appreciate it. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. Okay, folks? Bye for now.